Linda, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I don't know how to turn up my volume on my new computer. So I'll just have to talk loud and listen close.
You sound good.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to call the meeting of the Sylva Town Board of Commissioners to order tonight. And I want to remind the board that our clerk will take roll call when we vote on an item for clarification. So the first item we need on our agenda is to approve the agenda. Do I have a motion to do that?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion. Any discussion? Then all those in favor, I will let Amanda call the roll.
David?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
That motion is approved. And next is the approval of our consent agenda, which was also in your packet. I will entertain a motion for that.
Who's that?
Who?
Sorry, I said it. So moved. Approve
Okay.
the consent agenda.
All right. Amanda?
Okay, Barbara?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
All right. Our consent agenda has also been approved. Now is the time for public comment on anything that is not on our agenda for tonight. And Amanda, do you have?
I have one person who's trying to get on right now.
Okay. We'll wait just a minute for that.
Okay, I have Buddy Parton.
Okay.
Are you there, Buddy?
He still doesn't seem connected to audio.
There we go. Okay.
Mr. Parton, are you able to hear us, and are you ready to make comment?
Okay. Mr. Parton, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Just had a
Okay.
little bit of difficulty trying to get this thing started.
Okay. So you're on, so you can speak now.
Okay. First, I wanted to tell you a little bit about who Buddy Parton is. I have 4 children, 3 daughters, and 1 son that are all now adults, 36, 32, 29, and 26, all of whom I'm very proud of the adults they have become. I've always been actively involved in every community where I've lived, from coaching, substitute teaching, volunteering at my kids' schools, being involved in my church, and various other activities. I've never been interested in politics for myself. All I have done was purely to help the communities and especially the kids. When I've lived in South Carolina, I was fundraising chairman of a small Methodist church that had relocated to a growing area of Greenville County. I was also on our building committee that built a $1.2 million new sanctuary and a $1 million new family life center with a gymnasium. I was also on the Eastside YMC board of directors that built a $500,000 new pool. Was the co-founder of a nonprofit to help the Greenville County School Board, which had the largest school district in the state of South Carolina with no middle school sports. And what we did was to try to reinstate middle school sports program. I moved to Sylva in July of 2009, and one of the first things I did was go over to Smoky Mountain High School and talk to Coach Neil Setzer and ask him if there was anything I could do to help the athletic department at the school. He asked if I knew anything about doing golf tournaments. I said, sure do. We did the first Smoky Mountain High School golf tournament at Smoky Mountain Country Club. The next year we did one at Boston Mountain Preserve. The next year we did a 2-group tournament at Boston Mountain Preserve. I'll take a breath. Over the next 5 years, we raised a total of $65,000 for the athletic department to spend on athletics in all sports, the athletes. I went to a Dillsboro town meeting and asked if I could help in any way. 2 months later, I was asked to be their representative on the TWASA board. I'm also involved in our homeowners association in Dillsboro. One of the things that I've done, I was a history major at Clemson, and you know, I've got a 4-year education. I don't have a degree. That's what my dad said when he cut the funding off. But anyway, you know, when you look at history, you can look at what happened in Germany during World War II. And I'll just give you some statistics and some data. I know David likes data. Between 1941 and 1945, across German-occupied Europe, there were murdered close to 6 million Jews, close to 2/3 of the European Jewish population. 1.3 million were sent to Auschwitz. 1.1 million were Jewish, 85%. 960,000 died in the camp. A giant pile of shoes were left behind by the camp's victims, and they're now preserved at the Auschwitz-Birkenau Foundation. 3,800 suitcases, 88 pounds of eyeglasses. So, and Auschwitz is a museum that was created. The Jewish people did not want that destroyed because it reminds the world of what was done to them. In that museum, they've got 110,000 shoes, 470 prostheses, 570 striped clothing, and 4.5 thousand works of art. And, you know, I'm all for, you know, moving the statue, but as far as tearing it down or anything like that, I'm not. And you look at the Civil War, what happened in the Civil War? That was a wasteless, you know, and senseless war. There were 620,000 Americans that died, approximately 2% of the total population of the U.S. North Carolina alone had over 30,000. Approximately 1 in 4 soldiers that went to war never returned home. You know, and you had like at Gettysburg, 23,049 total soldiers died. When the Trail of Tears, you know, to me that was inexcusable what the United States did to the Cherokees. They had there was a member of 5 Native American nations. You had the Cherokee, the Chickasaw, the Choctaw, the Creek, and the Seminole that formed the 5 Native American nations. And one of the things I don't think, you know, a lot of people know is that the Native Americans were huge slave owners. They were involved in the slave trade. They were for slaves, and they had, in 1860, Cherokee Nation, there was 2,511 slaves, or 15% of the population. And the thing, you know, that happened there is too, they joined the Civil War to protect slavery. And then, you know, Holly Case had a great article in the Smoky Mountain News the other week. It was about Henry Owl, who was a Native American. He was a U.S. Army vet. He graduated, was a college graduate with a master's degree. When he came home, he went to the Swain County registration of elections to vote, and they wouldn't let him vote because he said he wasn't a U.S. citizen. Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Martin, your 5 minutes is up.
Okay. Okay. All right. I just wish you guys would get together, take the politics out, and let what I propose is to have a committee of citizens that get together, and we can come to a compromise to get this statue moved. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Parton. If there are no other public comments, we'll move on to our reports. For the mayor's report, I have nothing to report tonight. So we'll move on to the commissioner reports. Mary.
I just wanted to give kudos to In Your Ear Music Emporium. They did a really nice little write-up on Facebook. If anybody saw about how important supporting the small businesses is right now. I'm sure several of you are aware that we've lost several small businesses in the last month. People's may not be considered a small business to some, but it was one business we lost on Main Street. And seeing those closed doors brings a concern. Being a Main Street kid my entire life, I've seen the ebbs and flows of downtown Sylva. And now more than ever, I really feel like we need to step up and support our businesses. That's all.
Thank you, Mary.
Yep.
David. David. Oh,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you say my name. I don't have anything. I just had a quick question though about the bridge closure. Is there an update on if the bridge that connects Haywood Road is going to be open soon? I noticed there was something different with the signage there today. Do we know when that's going to be?
I did hear it would be the first of 2021. That was the 9 months, so it's going to be faster, and they're just about to have Hometown Road open so people can go that way to Harold's and Sylva.
There was a lot of background noise there. September 21st is the date? That's the 3 months.
The first of 2021, it was 9 months, and it was from July of this year to 9 months from that they'll have that finished. They're supposed to have it open.
I thought the link, like the bridge that connects Old Home Place Road or whatever back to Haywood Road, I thought that was 3 months. That was September date.
It's supposed to be open anytime is what I just saw. Barbara. Oh, you'll have to unmute.
It was in the Sylva Herald yesterday that it's going to be open the 1st of September, the Old Town Hometown Road. I mean, October, excuse me. So that's what they published in the paper.
Okay, great.
And so that'll be behind Harold's, and people will have another way to come rather than on our road.
Okay. All right. So 1st of October, a little bit of a delay, but that's not bad. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, David. Greg.
Sure, thanks. So commuting from work on 107, I just want to remind everybody to try to plan so that you only have to take rights in and out of places. Plan your errands accordingly, because and if you have to take a left, make sure that it's clear. I've almost been in 3 accidents this week. So just a reminder, it's like, make sure it's clear before you turn out. Don't use the middle lane as a taxiway into merging traffic, and plan accordingly. I watched the commissioners meeting the other day. They're talking about covering up the flag on the front of the monument, and they were having a really hard time trying to come up with language that might suit the monument somehow. I'm not quite sure, but it was kind of hard to wrap my head around them talking about diversity in one sentence, and then and then not having any ideas about slavery or any ideas about women's suffrage or any of civil rights movement locally. No mention of the thriving community that used to exist in Cullowhee. Like, there are lots of resources for them to write something that's appropriate if that's what they're going to do. At any rate, anything that they write to put on front of this thing has to go through the North Carolina State Historic Commission. So maybe that would be a good place for them to start.
Anything else, Greg?
Still think that we could do better. Yeah, I still think that we could do better. I still think that we could find a different project. And I'm not, again, I'm not advocating for us to tear the monument. One way that it can be moved is to find a different project for that space that represents our community. That's it.
Thank you, Greg. Ben.
Hello, good evening, everybody. So I don't have very much, but just the COVID update things. I've been watching the Jackson County board for COVID cases, and there's this chunk of the pie there, the yellow chunk, which is 18 to 24-year-olds, which keeps getting bigger and bigger. So they're counting, they count the Cullowhee folks. Cullowhee has their own board. So if you want to keep on top of what's going on, I think the college is doing a really good job of quarantining folks and, talking to professors and some students. Everybody's wearing masks, or, they're keeping their distance. They're doing all the right things. So those cases are going up, but they're actually doing a pretty good job of keeping them quarantined in their dorms. Of course, there's the whole business of college kids, young people in general, not wanting to, kind of be pulled out into quarantine or participate in tracing. And so that always presents a challenge. But so far, I think we're still not seeing much in the ER here. I was talking to Mission, they're not getting overwhelmed. We get our steady trickle type stuff. So I think we deserve some credit. I mean, we're doing a good job. When I'm out, I'm always seeing people with masks, distancing, typically when I don't see folks with masks, they have out-of-state license plates. But for the most part, I think we're doing a really good job. I was just talking to Mary today and to find out if, how it went with the summer, because she's had lots of folks coming through there. And, she said that she hasn't received any tracing calls, which is great, which means that nobody's been, positive and then contact trace back to DRC. So that's awesome. But, right now it's really busy. The Mission is on diversion, other than really Mission Hospital, other than folks that have been in a car accident or massive heart attack. We're full. It's anything we can do to keep folks away from the hospital with the COVID stuff is super important. So that was it. And just a question, that little sidewalk project downtown that had to be redone, the new crosswalk. Jake, is there any update on? I see it's still kind of in under construction there. The part that's in front of Greg's building there. Do we know when that's going to be kind of sorted out? And then that's it for me.
Yeah, Ben, board, hello everybody. We've had very hard time matching that drainage to the existing drainage. That's been a hold up there. I'm hoping to hammer some stuff out and get that completed in the next week or so. And I do apologize for the delay on that. So that's the update there.
Thank you, Ben and Jake. Barbara.
I have a few things I'd like to mention. Like Mary, I'm concerned about our new businesses, and I'm proud that they're coming in here and opening some places because we've lost so many. But I hope everybody is trying to patronize them. Joe and I have been doing that all through this COVID thing, trying to help each one of the restaurants or food places and the other stores because they've been hit so hard. And also, I think our police department has been doing a good job. Our road has continued to be a raceway, but that's just the way it's going to be. That's the way people are driving right now. And hopefully when that old hometown road opens, we won't have to deal with this as much. I also want to thank Public Works because I think they really do a good job. They work hard for us. They have to mow all the grass and things and come and pick up all when you work and clean up your yard. They come the next day and take off everything. And that's a big plus for us. It's a very nice thing that they do for the citizens. Other than that, I just hope that we can start coming to better agreements and really talking over issues with each other. I think we have been distracted way too long on this one thing. And I know how everybody is very emotional about it, but we need to get back to doing our town board job in representing our residents. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Barbara. We will move on now to the manager's report. Mr. Morgan.
Good evening. First, I wanted to bring up an update on our outdoor dining. Jake and I, we've met with our downtown restaurant owners to determine their level of interest on having sidewalk dining. At this time, we have about 4 or 5 restaurants that are wanting to participate. Safety barriers are now in. We do have those in our Public Works Department. All the paperwork has been submitted to NCDOT, and as soon as they sign off on it, we will get that sidewalk seating happening just as fast as we can. But that's where the hold is right now. It's all resting with NCDOT. Public Works is ready to go. Jake says as soon as we get the notice, we'll make it start happening within 2 days. Then the restaurant owners can apply for a zoning permit and show us exactly how they're going to set everything up. And John with the county is ready to help us there too. So all of that is in the works. Everyone probably knows by now, but the concerts on the creek has been canceled due to the COVID-19, and we'll pick it up next season. Downtown cleanup will be coming up Monday, September the 14th at 5:15 on Main Street. This is I believe the Sylva Rotary Club, Public Works Department, and also Main Street and the Chamber working together. We'll meet at Bridge Park at 5:15. Actually, the asphalt parking lot next to Bridge Park, and all volunteers are welcome. Our playgrounds in Sylva, as part of the governor's COVID-19 2.5, they've allowed for the opening of the playgrounds. However, after discussion with Melissa McKnight of the Jackson County Health Department, we've decided that we cannot adequately clean the playground equipment for our children to the level that we feel like could be safe. And so therefore we are choosing to keep our playgrounds closed for the safety of the children and also the safety of our employees. Our public works staff is so small that we just cannot maintain the cleanliness that would be necessary, we feel, for the safety of the kids and also for our employees. Allen Street slide area. We do now have 2 proposals for the specialty work that will be needed to be done on the Allen Street project, that slide project. Both of those bids have been submitted to Kessel Engineering for their evaluation so they can give recommendations to the town. This will be a very expensive project for the town. I'm saying that after everything is said and done, we're over 500,000, probably closer to about 560, maybe 570. But that is in the works, and we will have an update for you very soon as the engineers get back to us with their evaluation of those proposals. And that's all that I have.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Okay.
For Mike real quick.
Ben has a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So, okay. So with the Allen Street, so once we get, and Jake, I guess, once we get a quote and everything, are we going to have a chance to talk about options? Because I think Mike and you and I kind of touched base on this too. Are we going to be doing this every couple of years? I mean, it's like, at some point in time, we have to decide what we want to do long term. It'd be nice to kind of, I don't know if that's a board discussion or what, but at some point in time, look at other options rather than, shelling out $500,000, every few years for the street kind of thing.
Ben, yes, you will have options. We will give you some options for you to select from. All the options may not be good options, but we will have at least 2 or 3 options for you to consider as far as the repair work that's going to be done. Whenever we're looking at the Allen Street slide, Jake and I have had this conversation. If you come closer into town by 100, 200 feet, you can see cracks 2 inches wide in the asphalt now. The town has spent a tremendous amount of money over the past years in fixing different slide areas along the Allen Street projects up through there. yes, you've got to have those discussions. And like I said, there's not an easy solution to this, but you will have those options.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mary? Oh, unmute.
Okay. Can you refresh my memory on the Skyland Drive sidewalk project? Was it squashed or is it put on hold, or where are we at?
We recently received a updated memorandum of agreement from NCDOT. I believe that project has been delayed, but it's still in the works. We have paid two amounts. We paid initially about 35,000 and then an amount for 40 some thousand. So we've already spent about 70 some thousand on that project, getting engineering work done and things like that. The balance of the city's amount is roughly 192,000, and we'll be paying that out once construction starts coming along. But yes, we do have that in the works. It's just been, I believe, a little bit, not moving as fast as we'd like.
Thank you.
Yes, I heard today because of the sales tax on gas and things like that, the DOT is has a $1 billion loss. So they've had to put any projects that were not funded by bonds on hold for now. And I think that's what has happened to the sidewalk. Greg, you had a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, and concerning the outdoor tables, which restaurants were interested in doing that? Just like, so I have a visual picture.
And I want to yield to Jake. You know the restaurants better than I do.
Yeah, so Balsam Falls, the Farmhouse, Guadalupe Cafe, Lazy Hiker. Those are the three. Lulu's is not, due to the nature of their service and their broader outdoor seating area, permanent outdoor seating area. So those four.
Wonder any White Moon maybe on Back Street, did they express interest? I think that would be really a nice little area there.
They haven't expressed interest, but we can certainly approach them. They do have some sidewalk seating already also.
Right, right. The cafe tables,
And
yeah.
because of the traffic geometry there on Mill Street, it might require a little bit of additional barricades, but I'll approach them tomorrow and see if they'll have interest as well.
Okay. And my other question was about the playgrounds. Couldn't we maybe hire somebody through with the COVID money that we're getting for maintenance, or do we just not want to pursue that?
Again, I'll yield to Jake.
Yeah, that decision was one that I didn't make lightly. I'm dedicated, and I apologize for the lighting in here, everybody. I've just moved and I'm sitting beside a lamp hiding from my children and my dogs right now. So bear with
the best view.
What's that?
You have the best view on the call today.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm very committed to have an outdoor space for everybody to recreate in right now. That being said, I just because we can't open the playgrounds, I don't think it's a good idea. I don't have the staff to sanitize and keep that area sanitized. I also don't have the staff to limit people coming in and out. There's a lot of different types of services. You've got wood, you've got steel, you've got concrete, you've got pretty much anything imaginable that all require special attention. Our park attendants who have all been laid off since March. John is elderly. He's 83 years old. And while he has a lot of enthusiasm to come back and go to work, he's extremely high risk, and I'm not willing to put his safety at risk. There's a lot of things, and that combined with the fact that we do have Bridge Park and we do have Pinnacle Park still open for people to go and have some outside recreation. I just don't think the risk is worth the reward. Mike and I have discussed this at length. We've asked Melissa McKnight her opinion. I would be happy to hear Dr. Guinea's opinion on it as well. But those are the reasons behind that decision.
Yeah, I think it's definitely just a public health thing. As far as I would defer to the health department and on this for sure. But yeah, I mean, it sucks that we can't open them. It's terrible, but at the end of the day, we got to keep people safe. And if you can't guarantee someone's, kids' safety, especially because kids definitely get it, kids spread it. So I think that we're just kind of stuck. So appreciate you guys. It sounds like you're really back and forth. It was not a decision that was taken lightly.
Yeah, thank you for being very thoughtful about that.
Anything else for Mr. Morgan?
One last thing. Hey, I meant to ask before, can we, at the pavilion at Bridge Park, can we put the picnic tables in there? The stage? Are there, just for coverings? Thanks again for getting those extra picnic tables out, but can you put a few in there that are, spread 6 feet apart kind of thing?
I think we could. That shouldn't be a problem. Jake?
No concerts, yeah.
Jake, you're muted.
Sorry.
There you go.
Got a lot of tables. We can absolutely do that. I've got a lot of tables still at Poteet, several at Bryson that aren't going to be used for several more months anyway. So we can do a table roundup and just kind of take them all to Bridge Park, some in the sun, some in the shade, some under cover, so people have whatever they want. And I'm more than happy to do that.
Great, thank you.
All right, if there are no more questions, we will move on to the fire department report. And I believe I see Mike. If you can unmute, there you go.
There you go. Yeah, I'm standing in for Mallory tonight.
Okay.
I was just going to let y'all know, we just completed our rating, ISO rating. It was done yesterday. Of course, we don't know how it turned out yet because they don't let you know for like 3 months. So we really don't know. We seem to do all right with it. Mallory put in a lot of work on that along with other members, and been 3 months of working around the clock pretty much to get it done. And everything seemed to go good yesterday. So hopefully we can lower it a little more. Hopefully, and for sure, we hope we didn't lose any ground. So I don't believe we did. So we should be all right. Other thing I was going to talk about was since the last meeting on August 10th, we've increased our roster from 35 to 40, which enabled us to get more volunteers in. We had for some reason, a lot of people wanted to volunteer for the fire department. That's a great thing because it's hard to get volunteers now. And so we made room for them. That's what we did. We've ran 62 calls since the last meeting, August 10th. The wrecks have not been as much as you would think. We only had 5 on 107 that we were page 2. Of course, the police department goes a lot more than that. But as far as what we're page 2, which is an injury wreck or something like that. And we had 7 wrecks on US 74. So like I was talking about the last time, 74 is really our big problem. Down towards right there below Dillsburg, Mount Zion Church. We spend a lot of time down there. So other than that, that's about all I was going to talk about tonight. I didn't know if y'all had any questions or anything. So
Barbara has a question.
Okay.
It's not so much a question. I just wanted to thank you and all the firemen because I know how many hours they volunteer and what a good job you all do representing our community. And we really do appreciate it, Mike.
Okay. Well, thank you, Barbara.
That goes for all of the board. I'm sure that we really appreciate your services. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. That's really about all I had tonight.
All right. Thank you, Mike.
Thank y'all.
Now we'll move on to our new business. And the first thing is Board of Election presentation. And Lisa Lovedahl is here on our meeting to let us know what we need to do to get everybody to vote.
Hi, thank you for inviting me. Good evening. Just an FYI, our internet has not been very good in the building today. Verizon came, or excuse me, Frontier came, they said that it's fixed, but I'd still see that my network bandwidth is low. I have a PowerPoint presentation, so I hope I have enough bandwidth to show that to you. So if you can go ahead and share, let me, I think I got this. There we go. Can everybody see my presentation? It says absentee by mail.
No.
Yeah.
Amanda.
Okay.
So
Okay, share.
It says you don't have any video. There we go.
she's getting it.
There you go.
It's coming.
Okay, there we go.
All right.
Can you see it now?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Technology is great when it works. I'm going to talk about voting this general election, focus on absentee by mail, because that seems to be a lot of questions that people have. And it's basically, and you heard a lot about voting by mail. North Carolina has always had for many, many years, no excuse absentee ballots. Basically, that is anything other than election day. That's even the early one-stop voting, and you can always request an absentee ballot by mail. And no excuse means there's no really reason that you have to have. You don't have to be absent or anything just because you want to. The process to get a absentee by mail is first you do have to do a form. You have to request it, and it has to be the voter or the voter's near relative. And once the voter or the near relative fills out the request, the office processes the request. Then we create an absentee ballot package, and we have to mail it to the voter. You can't leave with a ballot. By law, we have to mail it to the voter. And then the voter, once they get it, they vote and return the ballot to the office. And then at that point, the board reviews it and approves it. And once it's been approved, it's going to be scanned into our equipment at the meetings. And then we don't release those totals until elections. So on election day, the totals are then recorded and released on election day at 7:30 when the polls close. There's a couple ways that you can request an absentee ballot. The good old-fashioned way, the paper form, they're at our office, they're on the state board's website. We can mail them to a voter if they request it. And this is new, just started about a week ago. You can go into the state board's website and you can actually request it online from the state board's absentee portal. And we, the general public is really using this. We're getting about 100 a day from just the portal alone. Okay, so once we get the request, we process it. And when we process it, we check and make sure that the voter is registered to vote. We make sure that the form is complete. If not, we get in touch with the voter so they can complete it. We make sure that the person who requests it is eligible to request it, the voter or the near relative. The law requires that they supply the date of birth and the ID, North Carolina driver's license, or the last four of their Social Security. We have to validate that for the Social Security office or through the driver's license office. And then, of course, that the application is signed. Then at that point, we create absentee packages. That started on September the 4th. And we mailed out 1,895 absentee ballots. To put this into terms with other elections, in 2018, for the entire election, we only mailed out 269. So that was a big, big increase. Right now, we're at 2,185 that we've already mailed out. And we will keep mailing those out until October the 27th. And that will be the last date that we're mailing out. As you can see, there's a process for it. Technology is great. We now have where we can print out the labels for the voters and match it up to the ballot, and then send it out. And if you saw with Shannon, she's double checking everything to make sure that the voter gets the right ballot for them. Once the voter gets the absentee package, they vote and complete the envelope. They need to have one witness present, and that's changed this year. It used to be two, but a court order, there's only one now. It's still private. The witness shouldn't watch them vote. They should just be seeing that they're the one who's actually casting the ballot. And then once the voter votes, they seal this in the envelope, and then the voter signs. And as you can see, it doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to be the voter's signature. A lot of people ask us, are we going to scrutinize the signatures to make sure that they match exactly what's on the voter rolls? No, we understand that signatures change through time. What we would be looking for is like if the person's name is Lucille Ball and Betty Davis signs it. At that point, then it'd be a red flag would come up. Or if we get in lots of applications and they have the same signature looks like, that would raise a flag. Other than that, we're just reviewing those. And then the witness would print their name and their address, and then the witness would sign. And like I said, we're not looking for it, it's a basic signature. It can even be a person's mark, but it does have to be that voter votes their ballot and that voter signs for it.
Lisa, real quick, a quick question. Who can anyone be a witness? I mean, is there any, does it have to be someone who's of voting age, or, what's the witness requirements, I guess?
The witness does have to be 18 years and older, but that's the only requirement. They can be from any state. They don't have to be registered to vote. They can be, and we've had a lot of people ask, can husbands and wives do that? Definitely spouses can do that. Anybody in your household can do that. And I think that's probably the reason that the court order lowered it down to one, because normally at least one other person lives in the household with somebody. And then the voter returns the ballot, and who can return it? Again, the voter or their near relative, and how they can return it is by mail. If they don't want to do it by mail, they can always return it to us here at the office. They can also return it in person at the one-stop sites, and that's been in place for many, many years. And One Stop begins October the 15th and lasts for the 31st. But what's new this year is, in addition to them being able to come as they had before inside the enclosures, we're going to have absentee return centers at all the One Stop sites. And they're one-stop sites in Sylva, Cherokee, Cullowhee, Cashiers throughout Jackson County. And it's going to be separate from the enclosure because we want to keep those people out of the line. For those people who are there to vote in person. So there will be clearly marked with signs that says return your absentee ballot here, so they can safely and quickly return their absentee ballot. And those who want to vote in person, they're not going to be in the same line. They're not going to be with each other. They're going to be social distancing, and it's going to help keep the line down for those who do want to vote in person. Board meetings. There is normally 3 board meetings that the board members have to approve the absentee ballots, but the state has allowed us to do 2 more in anticipation of more ballots. It's going to start the 29th and it's going to end on the 27th. That's on a Tuesday, and it's always going to be at 1 o'clock here at our office. And at that point, the board will review the absentee envelopes that have came back in. Once they're approved, they will open them and scan the ballots into the equipment. These meetings are public, and they are going to be live for the first time, either through Facebook or through our website, so the public can view this. But the votes will be private. We're not going to release anything. They're not recorded or released until election night at 7:30. And yes, that's one of the questions that people have asked us. Will you have all these absentee ballots in on election night? And we will. That is our goal. And the reason why is we were planning on doing all this extra work up front, 2 extra meetings. And then when the board normally would just approve them and then wait until election day to open them and scan them. We're going to do it each meeting, and then we're going to securely store those in a safe. So that's going to help us. So from the 27th until election day, we should only have a couple of hundred. So, you know, the logistics of putting the ballots into the scanner is going to be less time. So yes, we are going to be able to release our first unofficial results at 7:30, which would be one stop and the absentee by mail. Okay. I've had questions before, you know, about absentee ballots. And right there, if you see, that is a identification mark, and it privately links the ballot to the voter. This has been in place forever. And the reason that it's important, because I've had people before call me and said, I heard that I should sign my ballot. And that is not a good ideal because you don't need to do that, because your ballot is already secretly, privately linked to you. So you don't have to sign it. But if you do sign it, at that point, your ballot information is out there. You've got a name to your ballot. So this links it to you privately without your name being attached to how you vote. So there's no need to do that. Also, you know, you cannot vote twice in North Carolina. We have safeguards in place, and this is one of those. These ballots are out, and when they're returned to our office, we enter them into the system, and it freezes your vote. So you can't go to one stop. You can't go to election day and try to vote again, because it's going to say that you've already voted. And the only thing you can do is a provisional ballot. And a provisional ballot is a ballot that the board reviews, and they decide if it's legally counted. And if you already have a vote in place, then you're not eligible for that ballot to count. So that's how we keep from people to vote twice. For some reason, if somebody did slide in an absentee ballot and they also voted in person at one stop site or election day, then we would find that. The reason that the results are unofficial on election day is we go from that time, and normally it's 10 days, into a canvas, and we do a lot of auditing. And one of the biggest audits that we do is we go through everything and make sure there is one voter, one vote. And if we find out that there's, you know, more votes or more voters than that, we have to tell the state board why this has happened. And if we find that a voter has 2 votes, then we bring it to the board, and then the board would take one of those away and only report one of those. So that's the reason why absentee ballots have that identification mark. So there's no need for you to sign that. And also, if you did sign your ballot, there's a really good chance that your ballot would not be scanned, that the scanner would reject it. So that means that the board members would have to duplicate your ballot. And I'm sure you can just imagine all the red tape and the time that it would take us to reproduce somebody's ballot. So that adds lots of times to the process. So signing your ballot is not a good thing. They're already privately marked so that we can make sure at the end of the day, one voter, one vote. Okay. Not to overlook in-person voting. We did a second primary June the 23rd, and it's kind of the experience and the lessons have been a blueprint for us to use for the general elections, and we learned a lot of things. In person on election day is going to be November the 3rd, and it will be at your assigned precinct, 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. There's lots of hours there. I would not recommend wait until election day. Vote early if you're going to do in person. That way, you know, there's a lot of time that you have that you can safely and quickly get into to vote. One stop begins the 15th through the 31st, Monday through Friday, 8 until 7:30, Saturday, October the 17th and the 24th, 8 until 6, and then the very last day, the 31st, 8 until 3 p.m. And we do have 5 sites. We have the office, we have the Cashers Rec Center, we have the Cullowhee Rec Center, we have in Cherokee at the Qualla Community Building where we normally vote on election day. And then we have at WCU at the Hines Center. So my recommendation would be, if you want to vote in person, do it at one stop. Don't do the first, don't do the last day. Shy away from like 10 o'clock. Other than that, you're going to be able to get in and out safely and quickly. We have always been very proud of our rating that we have 30 minutes or less wait time in Jackson County for many, many years. And we are determined that we're going to keep that up, even with everything that's going on this year, in-person voting safely and quickly. In-person voting protection, we've learned a lot from the second primary. The workers will have personal protection equipment. They'll have masks. They'll have gloves. They're going to have face shields. They'll even have gowns, whatever they need for them to feel safe. In fact, they're going to be required by law that they have to wear a mask, and then they can add as many layers as they need to feel safe. We have so much hand sanitizer for the workers and for the voters. So we've got that. We are going to sanitize everything. There will be masks available for any voter who does not have a mask. In fact, we have 20,000 masks ready to go. There's going to be limited contact between the voters and the workers. We're not going to reuse pens. You're going to be able to take your pen with you. With the voting equipment at one stop, there's going to be very minimum touching of the equipment by the workers, just the voters as they're voting. And then on election day, there will be no contact by the precinct workers on the voting equipment. The only thing they're going to do is insert the paper, and then the touching will be exactly by the voter for them choosing their candidates. And then they get to take it over to the scanner. And between each voter, we're going to have a dedicated cleaner who's going to sanitize between every voter. So we've been really thinking about this. At one stop, we're going to sanitize every night. I'm looking for the lights to help, like they have at the hospitals to do at the one-stop sites. They're going to be a deep cleaning before election day and a deep cleaning after election day. So we are taking the sanitation, the cleanness of the polls very seriously. Okay, so remember to vote. You've got many, many choices, and they're out there to vote safely and quickly. Any questions?
Yes.
Yes.
I get going great. So Lisa, I just want to say thank you so much for coming to talk to us today. I appreciate you coming, and I really appreciate everything you all do. I mean, you do such a great job. I mean, I've been on both sides as a voter and as a candidate, and it's pretty amazing the job you and a lot on your volunteers do, and that's something I think it's really important to keep in mind, that most of the folks that are working at the polls, if not all of them, are volunteers, and a lot of them are elderly, and so it's much appreciated, everybody that's involved, and kind of basically the cornerstone of our democracy, which is voting. I just want to point out that my little screen photo here, this is a picture from the Georgia primaries over the summer. We are really lucky here that this is not a scene that we see. And I think that the early voting, most people have made up their minds by now. And if you've made up your mind, go for it. Just get it done. Get your vote in, whether it's, I think the absentee voting is great, and it seems very straightforward. Probably the safest thing to do. But if someone really wants to go in person, voting early, just like you said, is super important to avoid scenes like this behind me, where, again, we're not going to see this no matter what. I guess potentially we could, but most likely we're not going to see this in Jackson County. But these are folks that are stuck in line for hours on end, and that goes back to a lot of issues that that this country has with voting and voter suppression, and that's a whole other subject. But I also wanted to point out that this is 100 years ago, 19th Amendment passed. So 50% of folks in this country were all of a sudden were able to vote, and it wasn't because they were given the right to vote. It was because they, folks like Alice Paul and Lucy Burns and Carrie Chapman Catt worked tirelessly and took the right to vote. And I think that's something that is, it's an amazing story. And those folks deserve a lot of credit. Going back to, it's not, being able to vote is not something to be taken for granted. It's super important. It's your duty as a person in this country, in a democracy, and I think it's imperative to get out and vote. And I think you answered a bunch of my questions already. With the early voting, and your presentation was awesome. The only other thing is, the voter fraud business. I think you touched on that. And statistics. Do you have at your fingertips like statistics of how much voter fraud happens throughout the country, or if you only know Jackson County, do you know what kind of voter fraud? Because we hear a lot about it, but I don't think the stats support it.
I don't keep up with that on the national level. I can tell you in Jackson County, I can't tell you a case of it. There have been things that maybe somebody had tried to vote twice, but we've always caught them. And most of the time it was just somebody who forgot that they voted one stop and then they came and voted on election day again. So, I mean, it's just one of those kind of things. It wasn't intent to break the law. So I don't see it in Jackson County. And in North Carolina is really ran very well from the state down. The state board is very professional. They're professionals at doing elections, and they have the right balance between making it accessible but also making it secure.
Great. Well, thanks again. That's it for me. Again, I can't say thanks enough. It's an amazing job that you all do.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, if I can add one more thing, where you did bring up workers. We do have lots of dedicated great workers, but we could always use some more workers. We're expanding our services, so we need more workers. So if anybody who would like to work at One Stop or on election day, just go to our website. And there's a place where you can sign up on that. And that's JCNC, like Jackson County, North Carolina, jcncelections.org. And there you can get, at the top, it says get involved, click on that, pull down, and there's a place where you can do a Survey Monkey and just sign up.
Sorry, and one more thing, just as a quick thing. So this is the second time I've received this. I don't know if it's going to show up or not. Here it is. Well, anyways, it's this letter. It says from the Center for Voter Information, and it says voted home ballot request form enclosed. Do not discard. I'll bet other folks are getting these as well. And I don't know if this is, at least I don't know if you're aware of these. I mean, are these legit? As if I sent it in to you, would I get a ballot sent to me or not? Are you aware of these?
We are throughout the states, and yes, there are lots of groups out there who are really hard to be helpful. Sometimes they make my life more difficult and the voters. But as long as they're not pre-printed and they're based on the North Carolina absentee requests that's on the website, then yes, we can process those. If it's pre-printed or if it's not that form that's official, then at that point we mail them out the form that is official and let them fill it out and send it back to us.
Great. So you do have a process for that. So if I filled out this thing and then it's not proper, and you're like, well, here's what you should be filling out, and you'll send me that.
Right. And most of the time, I will say they do put lots of effort in making sure, since it's got their name on it, that it's in line with what the law is. My only thing I don't like is they make it look sometimes too official, that people think it's coming from us and they don't understand. Well, we keep they've already got in their request, it's been processed, and they keep getting applications, and we have to explain to them it's not us, it's a third party, that your application is good.
Great. Thanks again.
Does anyone else have a question for Lisa? If not, thank you very much. That was a lot of good information. I appreciate it. And I'm sure the
You're welcome.
board does.
Thank you, Linda. And thank you for letting me get the information out.
Yes, thank you. We'll move on to the next item on our agenda. That is authorization for Peter Tay to conduct a feasibility study for mountain bike trails at Pinnacle Park and at Black Rock Creek.
Great. Thank you. I'll just give you guys a little bit of background. Sorry, I've been working nights. I meant to email something out, and I will. But let me just run it down real quick here. So there's the Nantahala area, Sylva, which is otherwise known as NAS, and basically it's the local chapter of the International Mountain Bike Association. Peter Tay is the head of it, and so he approached me, and I know this came up a couple of years back about getting some multi-use trails. It's mountain biking, but also multi-use trails. So it's something where it's hiking and biking. We had to go back and make sure that mountain bikes count as non-motorized vehicles. And Mike, again, thanks for sorting that out. And Mainspring has said that's fine. So basically, what they need to do is get permission from us, from the board, to move forward with a conceptual design of what this project would look like. It doesn't require any money from the town of Sylva. It just really requires permission to go forward. And Peter said that this is all going to be grant funded. There's lots of grant money out there for these types of projects. And as right now, nobody's, because of COVID, but no one's spending that money. But once things start to kind of turn around, that money's, there's going to be a lot of demands for that money. So it's going to be really important to have, shovel ready projects. And I think this is one of them. I think that, increasing mountain biking or hiking in this area, taking advantage of our outdoor space is really important. I'm just going to, this is from Peter, and I'm just going to read a little bit here. The conceptual designs are meant to give the land managers, the Sylva Town Board, a rough idea of how the trail system will be laid out. If a design or several designs are approved for the next steps, then the Nantahala area Sorba, along with a professional trail builder, most likely Ed Sutton with Trail Dynamics, who built the Fire Mountain Trails, would kind of get boots on the ground to identify the possible trail corridors and provide cost and construction of each proposed trail system. If we approve this, an environmental impact study, which would include mitigating erosion issues, would also be conducted. They would raise funds from the International Mountain Biking Association and other sources to conduct this study. Generally not included is an economic impact of these mountain bike and multi-use trails. But Peter would like to find someone at Western or elsewhere to provide us a report for the potential economic impact to the town of Sylva, Dillsboro, Cherokee, and Jackson County. The NAS would facilitate the fundraising efforts by applying for recreational trail program and other sources of funding like Dogwood, Nantahala, Health Foundation, et cetera, grants to construct the trails. Also, a GoFundMe account would be set up to cover any other unexpected costs. They foresee the mountain bike multi-use trails at Pinnacle Park and Black Rock that will be environmentally friendly, even during construction. It would also provide economic growth to the town of Sylva, Dillsboro, Cherokee, and Jackson County, and promote a healthy lifestyle to the residents of Western North Carolina and beyond. Further, do not believe the development and construction of the trail systems will require the town of Sylva or Jackson County to expend any taxpayer funds. Could also address operational costs such as the cost of maintaining porta potties at the trailheads. That could be addressed with a day use fee or other methods to generate operational funds. And of course, they would welcome the opportunity to do routine maintenance, like clearing fallen trees. They usually they do that now at Solly, for instance. They've got volunteers that do that. So again, that's not something that would fall on Jake or the town doing trail maintenance. They would also fix erosion issues, clear drainage, pick up litter, that kind of thing. So it's really kind of a self-contained entity. So it's not something that's going to fall back on the town. So today, I, as a board member, would like to request that the Sylva Town Board approve Peter Tay and the Nantahala area SORBA to proceed to develop a conceptual design for a mountain bike multi-use trail system for Pinnacle and Black Rock properties. So I welcome any discussion and then a motion and a vote to move forward for that.
Are you making the motion that we do that?
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I think this is a great idea. I think this would be very healthy for our community, a good use of the space. And, you know, a feasibility study is just that. It's a conceptual plan. And of course, you know, we'll still consult with Jay Coward and all the other parties that have an interest in this park and take community input and everything like that. But I think it's good to get the ball rolling and get a just sort of a roadmap on how we would go about putting in some bike paths on that property. So yeah, I support it.
Seem to remember we had some discussion about how these trails would work out maybe a few years ago. Somebody came from SORBA. Maybe there were some preliminary studies already done in the works. I don't know.
So according to Peter, they never even got to that point. They didn't get to this point of doing a conceptual design. They hadn't got there. And I know there was I wasn't on the board, but I was aware of what was going on. Some concerns about increased traffic up and down, you know, the road leaving Fisher Creek, and parking and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, we talked about that a little bit as well. Yeah, and there's also openings for other trailheads too. There's possibilities, you know, that goes along with conceptual design. Once you start to kind of get things and you're like, okay, where's the best way to enter this? Should we develop another trailhead so that you're not pushing all the, if there is, you know, kind of look at how much increased traffic is there going to be, and are you going to, you know, have to divert it, that kind of thing. So that would all follow after the conceptual design.
Okay.
I had one comment. Because bicycles weren't specifically allowed within the easement that we got on the Clean Water Management Trust money, we would have to have approval from the trust in order to be able to put in bike trails. So whether or not you wanted to request that approval first, or if we do this study and then submit that to them showing how far the steps that have been made, I don't know which would be more receptive by the trust.
Mr. Morgan, do you have a comment?
I do. The Clean Water Management Trust would need to approve the plans once they're completed before any work is done. But they have allowed for bikes in the Marble Creek property area for the town of Murphy. So they feel like that the Clean Water Management Trust Fund has set a precedence to allow for bikes, but that will have to be approved before any construction starts, and they would need to approve the overall design and project that we have. So you're correct, Eric.
Thank you. Any other discussion? So we
I
have,
like what, I just want to reiterate, I like what Ben said about in the study, there's a chance that it could be a separate trailhead. I know that that was a concern of a lot of the Pinnacle Park residents, that they didn't want any more increased traffic at the Pinnacle site. So I like the idea that the trailheads could exist elsewhere. That's all.
thank you, Mary. If there are no other comments, then I will call for a vote for us to give authorization to Peter Tay and Sorba to conduct this study. I will ask Amanda to take a roll call.
Mary,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Okay, so the motion is approved and
Unanimously, yay.
thank you. And thank you, Ben, for taking the initiative to do that. We will move on to our third item on our agenda, which is to an ordinance amendment for section 36 of our ordinances, traffic, to add some something about unmuffled engine compression brakes, which are Jake brakes. And I'll ask Mr. Morgan to give us that information.
At last meeting, council meeting, there was some concerns about the use of Jake brakes, or what they actually call unmuffled engine compression brakes coming down Grindstaff. North Carolina Department of Transportation considers appropriate engine braking as an essential safety practice, and prohibiting the use of engine brakes may have a negative impact. However, if a proper installed muffler will reduce excessive noise, vibration that's emitted. Therefore, North Carolina Department of Transportation will allow for the installation of, quote, unmuffled engine braking prohibited signs, close quote, along NCDOT highways along the municipal, in the municipal limits. So if you choose to pass this type of ordinance, it will give us some more teeth, if you would, as far as the unmuffled engine braking systems. Now, this will not stop all the noise, but if it is an unmuffled activity, then we would have something to control with.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. I have had several residents ask me about this, and I know also Barbara commented on it before. Do we have a motion to approve this ordinance amendment?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Then I will ask Amanda to take a vote, or a roll call for a vote.
Mary,
Yes.
David.
Yeah.
Greg,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Barbara.
Yes.
Okay. The motion is approved. And I believe Mr. Morgan already has the resolution for us to sign.
Yes, that's correct. We will need to get an encroachment agreement from NCDOT before signs are installed, but we can make that happen.
Thank you very much. The next item on our agenda is community assistance during the coronavirus pandemic. And I will also defer to Mr. Morgan.
in materials, we've sent out some suggestions that you may want to consider. This only suggestions from staff of ways that we could possibly help the community during the outbreak that we've had. And I'll open the floor that way, just some suggestions.
Yeah,
I would
mean,
like to make a comment if I could. I noticed that Mr. Morgan listed many things on here, projects that we have, but also listed that the community table seems to have plenty of food products, but they do have a need for some repairs to their building. If we're going to give anything monies away, I would like for us to be careful and not give money to businesses or individuals that have access to other monies, which I think is listed on the second page of the items that Mr. Morgan gave us. And I would want us to be very frugal with the money since we have so many projects that we could use some help on. And then I'll open it up to anybody else that has something they would like to say.
I'll kind of piggyback on what you just said about the community table building. It needed a lot of repair, was it last year? And so I think this is a prime opportunity for us to give that space. Ask Paige if there's any kind of remodel things that are needed in that building.
I spoke with Paige last week, and she has some concerns with the floor joists under the kitchen area, dishwasher area, and underneath the building recently, looking at what damage has been done because of leaking dishwashers. Also, she said that they needed to reinforce some of the floor joists in an area where some coolers, taller coolers, larger coolers they are planning on going. Overall cost, Jake and I had discussed, and Jake, speak up if you disagree, but $5,000 would help those folks get that items taken care of. Of course, that's just a ballpark price. Probably wouldn't take that much. Jay?
Yeah, again, I was underneath that building several weeks ago, taking a look at the foundation and the floor joists. There is some water damage from some leaking appliances, but all in all, given the age of the building, I was pretty pleased with the condition that everything's in. I'm not a general contractor. That was just a ballpark that I threw out to Mike. I would be happy to get a professional opinion on that if the board requests that as well. But that's just a rough estimate. I feel like that would be a very good start anyway.
Other comments, David?
So do we not think that maybe like repairs to the community table should maybe come from like capital fund or something instead of CARES Act? Well, I guess instead of general fund, wouldn't we usually use our money reserved for capital outlays for something like that? Just curious.
Mr. Morgan, can you address that?
In this situation, I would recommend just pulling it from your fund balance. Once the county reimburses us for that COVO money, it will go back into your fund balance. I would not touch your capital reserve money in this case and allow that to continue to be used for your vehicles and those types of areas. So if we're donating money or we're putting money into that project, I would say let's just pull it from the fund balance, but that's just my off the cuff recommendation.
I'm just a little worried on some of the language. I know the county approved our request for using it for salaries and then essentially using that money for back into fund reserve. But like the more I read those laws, I mean, you see like in the section for what may not be used, the money used for, it says funds may not be used to fill shortfalls in government revenue to cover expenditures that would not otherwise qualify under the statute. Although a broad range of uses allowed, revenue replacement is not a permissible use of fund payments. Are we staying, I mean, are we sure we're staying safe with the way we're, because I mean, I guess it's not the CARES Act money that's going into fund balance. Like the CARES Act money, I'm assuming is staying in a special account, and that's being used to pay the police officer's salary, which is then freeing up money that's been in general fund. And that's
That's
how we're
correct.
completely
That's
safe.
correct. So the money now at this point, once we get it through the steps at the county, will be just regular fund balance money. So we could use it for the community table as we have in the past. The mountain project is another one that we thought that may be very appropriate, where you're currently have budgeted $1,000 that you may want to increase that to assist folks this coming winter with heating, oil needs, and things that the mountain project community, the neighbors in needs been doing. So we can use funds for that. Also, the Awake program that we have donated money to in the past would be another source of appropriate use to get the funds, some of the funds back out into the community. And I think that's what I was hearing from some of the council members that you wanted to have happen. But please understand, with that's coming out of your fund balance, because we just took the money from there and put it back in the fund balance.
Yeah, so I guess, the reason I brought it up in sort of keeping with the spirit of what the money was intended for, I'd like to see some of it, and I totally understand, the caution, because we do have a very fragile fund balance right now, especially, with COVID continuing. But you do see, I mean, a lot of the language in there, the lists of what it should be spent on. I would like to at least, open up to proposals from our nonprofits that have any additional needs they're seeing that, obviously they requested the funding, at the beginning of the fiscal year or back in budget talks. And, none of this was really around then. But just to make it known to them that, maybe we are willing to set aside a chunk of this for, unforeseen needs that, these nonprofits that we donate to, or other nonprofits that might be seeing a problem in the community. I also heard, Barbara and Mary, you mentioned, you expressed a lot of concern for small businesses. This money, approved use of this money, although we're not using it under this law, was for grants for businesses reimbursing costs of business interruptions by required closures. I mean, we don't necessarily need to do that, but if we have vacant buildings that we want filled, I mean, there's maybe some creative uses for the money to offer incentives for new leases. I mean, I don't know. I'm just trying to kind of solicit some creative ideas to use at least a small amount of this money. If anyone has any ideas, or if maybe we want to reach out to some nonprofits. I mean, one issue that I see, so like your list of nonprofits that we already donate to, one need I see a potential for, and that's listed in that law, is a surge in homeless populations. Here is a nonprofit in this county that serves that population that we don't give money to. Maybe they could, if they're seeing a need in the Sylva community for a cause that we could meet with some of that money. I mean, does anyone have any thoughts on that?
You were jogging my memory. What if we did an application where all of these nonprofits could apply for some of this funding?
Right. Like we could easily say, I mean, it's 400 and something thousand. I know that our fund balance is taking a hit, but we could say, okay, hey, we're going to set aside $20,000 of this and create, a hardship grant application that's open to nonprofits. And a nonprofit could apply with, something that, maybe meets those standards that were given for use of the funds. I don't know, I see Eric laughing over there. Is there something not legal about that, or no? Maybe something else.
You mute it. You're mute.
He's muted. Oh, okay. I'll assume it was something else. But yeah, I mean, right. I mean, TWASA, we set aside 10 grand every year, and we have an application process. I mean, the county does it too, right? That we apply for with the municipal grant. I mean, I would say, I'd like to look at fund balance numbers before we set a dollar amount, but something large enough to where it's worth it for nonprofits to apply, say 20 grand, 15 grand. I don't know.
We're never able to fund a public bathroom downtown. Is this appropriate? Because this is not for us, this is for the community.
I kind of go ahead.
Excuse me, as far as use of the money for a bathroom downtown, it's back in your fund balance, and that is certainly an allowable activity for you to do. And so yes, if that's what you chose to spend the money for. It's important to remember, while the CARES money had guidelines and suggestions, and we met those requirements, and the county has approved our request. We do not have the cash yet, but we've received that request. The county has approved that. The money that we had coming in was reimbursing expenditures that we had already made. So it puts money into your fund balance now for expenditure of any allowable activity, as if any time of the year when you're going through your budget discussions. So if you wanted to take a dollar amount, and I'm saying David's 20,000 for consideration, and have a grant process that nonprofits could apply for, that would be fair to game to do that. If you want to take a portion of that money and say, we're going to put bathrooms on Main Street in that area, that's allowable expenditure. If you want to say we're taking money from fund balance, which you will do in order to fix Allen Street, that's an allowable activity for you to do. So any of those programs would be allowable because it is a allowable activity allowed by general statutes normally. And that's what we're at to this point now.
The only thing I would say is, expenses like that, Mary, like a bathroom, I think it would be wiser, there's no like pressing need to have that done. It'd probably be better to look at the fund balance situation at the end of the fiscal year and determine if some of that, money that got put into there was, is worth it at that point when it was like easier to financially plan for something like that. I was thinking more things like short-term needs, right, that couldn't wait. Something like a nonprofit would come up with. But yeah, I think that's a great idea too. And hopefully we'll come out of this budget year, with a bit of healing in our fund balance. And I think that's a great use for it. If you want, I can round up TWAS's community development grant application guidelines and everything, and kind of maybe put together something to look at next meeting.
I think Jake has a question.
Well, more of a point or a comment to make. You guys have all sat through our budget work sessions. You know how tight things can get at times. And while I appreciate, I'm very, very much in agreement with getting some of this money back out into the community, I want to reiterate that the Allen Street is going to cost in excess of $500,000. We also have capital purchases for sidewalks, capital purchases for equipment in the next 5 years, large pieces of equipment. We need to make sure that we keep that in the back of our mind. All of those things are coming, and we know that is certain. We know that's coming. We also have still a huge chunk of uncertainty from COVID. We don't know what COVID's going to look like when the temperature starts to drop and everything gets cold. I really, really appreciate you guys' willingness to put this money back into the community, but please consider our own need for this money as a golden goose for our own fund balance. And that's all I have to say about it.
Yeah. Thanks, Jake. It's true. We got to keep our first job here is we got to keep the town running, and we're going to keep that in mind.
Jake hit on the point that I think is very important. We don't know where this COVID virus is going to go in coming into the winter. We also, our police department, we have needs that was spelled out in your budget workshops that I've gone back through. So you have a lot of unknowns that we're getting ready to face. There's not a time limit on spending the money other than if immediate needs of nonprofits or so that David was wanting to consider. Toss that out for you, consideration.
All right. Well, I mean, we'll wait on it and see how things progress then. I'm fine
I
with that.
do like the idea of you at least researching it, what an application could look like.
Yeah,
It could
totally.
be, I mean, the amount of money can be figured out later, but we could still start.
Yeah, I'll take a look. I'll take a look at
How much money do we,
That would be good if we had the possibility of an application, and then we could go from there. Greg?
just a quick question. How much in a typical year do we put back into the community with programs like these? The community table,
I think it's 5,000 is what I could be wrong. I think that's our community contribution.
And that's the
I'm
table,
not sure.
that's Awake,
Yeah.
Mountain Projects.
Mountain Project, I think you have budgeted $1,000 in this year's budget.
So we're already budgeting something. And we also put a roof on the community table last year. Seems like maybe 20,000 might be a little steep, but I do like the idea of an application process for some of this money to go back. So I would definitely second the discussion there.
Okay. So any other comments on that? Otherwise, we'll ask David if he can get the one from TWASA, and maybe if Mr. Morgan has one, or if we have an application already, we can look at those and go from there. But does that sound fair to everyone?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how applicable it'll be since that's a, community development grant. This would be like a COVID need, but yeah, I'll take a look at it, see what I find.
Thank you, David.
The county of Guilford, or maybe it was Greensboro, had a very similar application for nonprofits, and we can look at that and see what they used.
Okay. Thank you both. We should be able to do some good and still save the money for all of these 9 projects that I see on the back of here.
Yeah.
Okay, that brings us to our last item on our agenda, a resolution establishing the Jackson County Confederate Monument a nuisance. David, I'll defer to you to explain for us.
Yeah, so the intent of this resolution is, so when you declare something a nuisance, the property owner has a chance to abate that nuisance, and that's really what declaring something a nuisance does. Is it's a attempt to get to the problem to be remedied. And my thoughts here were declaring the Confederate Monument to be a nuisance, since it meets the definition of a nuisance, being that threats are being communicated, assaults are occurring. It's creating quite a bit of community upheaval, and it's getting dangerous. So my point was to not let the county drop the ball on taking the safety issue seriously. But now, I mean, I do think, they're required to take good faith effort to abate the nuisance when something's declared a nuisance. And I think it can be argued at this point they have fenced it off and blocked it off and put cones up, and they have officers guarding it 24/7. So, I mean, I think at this point, it's probably unnecessary to declare it a nuisance, because they have taken steps to abate it. Now, I'd kind of like us to keep an eye on that. And, if the communication of threats stop and no more assaults occur, then I think, it's been abated. If they continue like they've been doing, then I think we should revisit it. But for now, I think I'm fine tabling the resolution. And there's going to be the anniversary of the dedication of the statue is coming up, and there's a group that's going to hold an event. So I kind of want to wait and see how those play out and see if, the measures they've taken so far are going to keep people safe. And, if we see it continue to be a safety problem, then I think we revisit it at that point.
Okay. I checked with Amanda and she can let me know. We might just want to say we took no action, because if you table an item, it can't come up for a year. So if we take no action, then you can bring it up at any time if you feel like it needs to be revisited.
Okay. Well, then I would advise we take no action then at this point, other than just, really putting a word out for people to behave safely around the statue, and for the county to really take whatever steps necessary to ensure public safety. When we say public, we're talking about the town of Sylva here. These are our residents that are getting threatened by this situation. So keep it safe.
Okay. Greg, do you have a comment?
No, you cut out there. Could you say what you had just said?
Yes, I checked with Amanda and she can comment if she wants to. It's best just to say we're taking no action, and then it can be brought back up. But if you table an item, there is a time limit that you can bring it up again. Am I right, Amanda? Is it a year?
So we're researching the time frame
Okay.
at this time, but I think it's just wise to keep it no action going forward.
Okay, thanks. I just need some clarification. You cut out there.
Okay. Sorry.
That's fine. Barbara.
Okay, if there are no other comments, then
Barbara's got something, and then when she's done, I'd like to say
okay,
something.
Barbara.
Linda, Barbara.
Barbara, you've got to unmute.
Yeah, I did. The county does a lot to help us out. And I don't know if it was an intention or what the end game with this resolution was going to be, because was anybody suggesting we might try to sue the county over this?
No.
Okay, because I think they're trying to compromise with us. And I want us to have a good working relationship with the county, because we depend on each other on so many things. And I'm glad that this is just going to be, we're just going to wait on it at this point and see how people react and how they try to get along with each other. I think I'm the only mother on this board who has had a son who served in the United States Marine Corps. And I've thought many times about the mothers that wanted this as a memorial, which I'm sorry they didn't. They put too many things about the Confederacy on it. But if my son had died, I'd want a memorial for him. And I think I don't look at it as so bad. The mothers wanted it as a memorial. Somehow it got more toward the Confederacy, but the Union and Confederacy, some brothers fought against each other. And I take it really, really seriously as a memorial. And maybe a lot of people don't agree with me, but my son served, and if anything had happened to him, I would have felt the same way. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Barbara. Is that all the comments?
Yeah, I have one kind of just piggybacking on this. So on August 4th, Jackson County Commissioners voted to cover up. They agreed that the Confederate flag and our heroes of the Confederacy were kind of symbols of division, white supremacy. And so they agreed to cover up the stars and bars Confederate flag and the heroes of the Confederate statue. As of today, nothing's changed. There's just a fence around it. The Confederate flag still looks down upon the town of Sylva. So I would like to kind of formally request Mike, the town manager of Sylva, to request to the county an update on the progress of whatever they're going to do with their plaque or whatever it is. I know they were in their work session the other day, and it still sounds like they're trying to figure that out. I would like that a request that in the meantime, until they figure out what's going on with their plaque, that they agree to immediately cover up the Confederate flag, stars and bars, and our Here's of the Confederacy. I don't care if it's cardboard or whatever, but put something over there, because that's what they agreed to do, and they've taken no action up until this time. This is something that is in the town of Sylva, and we are the ones that are kind of stuck with the repercussions of it. And so I'd like to request that the town of Sylva requests the Jackson County commissioners to put up something over those symbols immediately.
I would just like to say we need to have faith in the commissioners of Jackson County that they are going to do what they said, and give them the time to do it correctly. And Mr. Morgan can check with the county manager and see what that time frame is to get those things done, because they have said that they are going to do that. And I don't know how long that will take. It shouldn't take a long time, but we just need to have faith that they're following through with what they've told us they're going to do. Is Greg?
So I just wanted to say that if this is the course of action that they're going to take, everything has to go through the North Carolina State Historic Commission. And I would think that since we are talking so much about diversity in our community, I think this is the perfect opportunity for the county to reach out to some people of different backgrounds to get some input about what that is going to say. And I really don't know how they're going to explain it away, but that's my 2 cents on that. They really need to get some input from other people besides the people that are on the board. Thanks.
Thank you. I appreciate. Go ahead, David.
I mean, I'm with Ben on that idea. I mean, I don't think this is going to be a quick process, them covering up that the Confederate flag. If they voted to cover it up, I think it's reasonable for the town of Sylva to ask them to put a temporary covering over it. I mean, that's what they've done in other towns. There's towns all across North Carolina that are willing to remove their statues, and a lot of them in the meantime are covering them up. I mean, Asheville did it with the Vance Monument. I don't think that's an unreasonable request. I mean, I just don't have a lot of faith it's going to happen quickly. I have faith that they're going to follow through with it, like you said, Linda, but I don't think it's going to be a speedy process, and it could even be challenged legally. I mean, that statute, it allows for removal easier than it allows for modification. So I support Ben in that.
Mr. Morgan, can you check with the county and see if that's something they can do? Do we need to have a motion that the board wants to vote on that? I was hoping we were through that and we would have the faith that they're doing what they said they were going to do, but maybe, I don't know. We just need to do more things for the residents of our town, and try to move forward. Like David said, they've made it safer, but what should we do?
If I have 3 board members that are wanting me to make contact to the county to get them to put something, or request if they put something over the stars and bars and the verbiage, I'll be happy to do so. But we can make that request if you like. And I have had 3 council members suggest that I make that contact. Okay. So certainly do that with the county manager and see what they do.
Thank you. Now, if that is everything.
Oh, sorry. And just also, and an update on what is their, what's the process for their plaque, and, what's their plan?
glad to do that.
I just want to add, Linda, I don't think this is detracting from us doing anything else. I mean, this is agenda item on at the end of our meeting. I mean, we're still focused on plenty of other things. I think we can handle, you know, this debate at the end of our meeting and still.
I just want us to concentrate on all of the residents of our town and do the best that we can for them. So if that's the end of all of our new business, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I motion we adjourn unless Eric, did you want to say something? Eric, I saw you kind of moving around there. Did you have anything to add to that?
No, I'm good. I needed to apologize when David was speaking earlier. Jeff came by and made a comment when I was on mute, and I laughed at that about something that happened earlier in the day. It had nothing to do with anything that David said or his talk about the COVID money. So I apologize to David and to the board.
No problem.
Thank you.
All right. So I motion that we adjourn.
We have a motion. Amanda?
Mary,
Yes.
David?
Yep.
Greg,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Barbara? Barbara?
Sorry. Yes.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.